Hey guys, this is Queen3210 here, and apologies for the delay of my other videos. I have not given up on them. I do plan on getting back to them. It is just that World of Warcraft has taken over my life again. It's pretty much consumed all of my spare time outside of work, and as a result, I now have 3 90s, one on the way, like halfway to becoming a 90. And it's not helping that Warlords of Draenor is coming out sometime either this fall or by Christmas. I've heard both accounts. Not to mention the character models being upgraded, which immediately makes me want to play the game. And all that fun stuff. So, worry not. I do plan on getting back to Dishonored and Dead Space and all the other games that I've started already. I just need a little bit more time. Now, in regards to The Walking Dead, Originally, I only bought it on PlayStation Network, and I enjoyed it, and I couldn't quite justify buying it on Steam as well, despite the fact I've got like 3 copies of Final Fantasy VIII. I've got both Mass Effect on both PC and PlayStation Network. Excuse me. But the real deciding factor was I wanted to buy Season 2 on PlayStation Network. They only have the individual episodes. They do not have a Season Pass. I wanted to buy the Season Pass, and, well, that was pretty much the tipping point. So, rather than bore you all by playing the game again, despite knowing pretty much everything that happens, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to catch you up on the current gameplay that I have on the the PC, and pretty much show you all of the choices that I've already made it, and all that fun stuff. So we're going to get right on that right now. Yeah, man. Oh, play. Derp. So yeah, I've got all 5 episodes plus the DLC 400 days. Obviously, I also have episode 1 of season 2. We're just going over the stats, because that's really the easiest way to catch up to everybody. I tried to be honest with Herschel. I don't know how the fuck I managed to lie to him, despite the fact that I made all the same choices that I would normally, and I guess that's probably the problem. Don't know how the 64% of you guys managed to avoid lying. Please leave a comment down if you guys have an idea of managing to avoid all of that. I chose to save Sean just because he was the one who was in immediate danger. I based my choice on who needed help quicker. Duck could at least have jumped down and managed to get away from the walkers. Sean was fucking stuck. So I went with my gut, tried to save Sean. Obviously that does not go so well. With loyalty, I did side with Kenny against throwing Duck out. Initially though, I did try to be neutral and tried to reason with Larry, try to basically explain, you know what, he's not bit. There's no need to be yelling and everything like that, but obviously things didn't go so well, and then you really only get the choice of siding with one or the other. You can't really stay neutral. I gave Irene the gun, and the reason why I gave her the gun was because she wanted to go out on her own terms. Why should I stop her? She doesn't want to be a walker. She doesn't want to come back and be that walker. I'm pretty sure none of us do. I know I don't. So I gave her the gun. It's also much messier if you choose not to give her the gun, and really the only fallback to giving her the gun is that Glenn is kind of pissy with you and says you can't just give up all that easy and blah blah blah. Honestly, I would want to be given the choice to end my life in a way that I wouldn't come back, as opposed to just sitting there and just waiting for it to happen, and then it happened, and then I shit on someone else's day by biting them. Obvious choice. I saved Carly as opposed to Doug. They both have their strengths and weaknesses. Carly's not very smart, but she's sort of, I don't want to say she's dumb. She has street smarts. She's not technical know-how, as we've seen with the radio and the batteries, but she has a gun. She knows how to use it. And that's probably more worthwhile than having someone who knows how to reprogram a remote to turn on televisions to lure walkers, which is also, again, very useful. And the fact that if you do keep Doug alive, he does help out by making a perimeter defensive station that allows you to get the drop on your enemy, or basically stalls them before they try to kill you, that sort of thing. So again, they both have their strengths and weaknesses. I just went with Carly because Carly had the gun, and to me, that was a little bit more useful, because security things can fail, of course. Next was Starved for Help. I, like 84% of players, chopped off David's leg, which left poor Travis puking and then getting devoured by the zomboids. I chose not to shoot Jolene because I really wanted to hear what she had to say, and then of course Danny shot her instead. I didn't help Larry. I ended up helping kill him, and my reasoning for that was simply because I didn't want to take the chance that he really was going to die and that he turned, because he didn't have his nitroglycerin pills. There was no guarantee that Lily was going to be able to resuscitate him. That being said, there is no guarantee that she wouldn't have been able to. Just that, yeah. So, yeah, I ended up helping kill Larry and raining on Lily's day, and she has not forgiven me since. I chose not to kill both brothers. In fact, I kept both brothers alive. Instead of stabbing, what's his name, Danny? Instead of stabbing Danny, I stabbed the hay. It mostly because I knew that if I stabbed the hay, then Clementine would come out and have witnessed the whole thing, like, oh my god. But, I chose not to because I didn't want to sink to his level. And I chose to let Andy... I chose to leave Andy alive because, really, I beat him up. My point is across. Deal with it, buddy. And I chose not to steal from the car. My motives are entirely selfish for doing this. The reason why I chose not to steal from the car is the very first playthrough, I chose not to steal from it. The second playthrough I did on the PlayStation Network, I chose to steal from the car just to see what would happen. Clem gets so mad at you, she just turns her back on you and just arms fold, and she's got that angry little look on her face. I restarted the file and chose not to steal with her, just because I couldn't deal with that. So, I don't like Clementine being mad at me, so... Again, totally selfish motive for not stealing from the car. Which is, silly, and kind of a little bit of an oxymoron, I guess, but... when I put it that way, it makes sense. So, in the long road ahead, I chose to shoot the girl in the street. Again, basically putting myself in the shoes of the poor hapless girl who was screaming in the street, being bitten and eaten alive, and she was going to turn anyway, and she was going to die anyway. So, if I was that girl in that street, I would want someone to put me out of my misery. There's no way out. I'm going to die. I'm getting bitten. I'm surrounded. There's no way out. Kill me. And get it over with. And I got so mad at Kenny for even suggesting that I just leave her to suffer. So, obviously, I am of the minority here, but I chose to put her out of her misery. My initial decision, after Lily killed Carly, was to leave her on the road. That's exactly what I did in my very first playthrough, because I didn't want to risk her turning on the rest of us and just gutting us in our sleep. Here, I chose not to leave her, and the reason why I chose not to leave her was because I thought, you know what, leaving her behind to just fend for herself, yeah, it's safety for our team, but at the same time, she lost it, and taking into account she had lost her father, she was right about who was, like, someone was stealing from the, from our supplies and such, and depending on who you save, she's actually right about who it was that did it. So, you still kind of want to keep that person in your group, because she's, like, even though she's sort of losing it, hopefully there's redemption. I don't know, maybe I'm just rambling. And honestly, I'd always thought that Lily was sort of the better leader than Kenny. Kenny was my buddy. I liked Kenny a lot. But really, he was just out protecting his family. Lily was out protecting the group. And honestly, I would rather have someone out there who's planning on protecting the group than someone who's seemingly out there protecting the group and instead is simply just looking out for his family. Sorry, Rick Grimes. That's just the way I feel. That doesn't mean I would choose the governor over Rick, though. Rick is by far the better leader, I think. I didn't actually fight with Kenny. In both playthroughs I did not fight with Kenny. The first one and this one, obviously. There was a second playthrough that I did where I ended up fighting with Kenny, and yeah, we both ended up walking away worse for wear, and that was not fun. So I managed to talk him down. It's really easy to do if you're curious. All you really need to do is show him Duck's blood, and basically reassure him, tell him that it wasn't his fault that Sean died on the farm, that he needs to let it go, and that he's not being punished for that action. Like, bad things happen to good people, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. With the heavy burden, in most cases, the first time I played and the second time I played, I chose to shoot Duck myself because I just didn't have it in my heart to make Kenny do it, because he had just lost his wife. Kaja had just committed suicide. I wasn't going to do that to him. So what I did instead this time is I actually did shoot Duck myself, because thinking about it, I went over it in my head and I thought, you know what? I'm just enabling him to not being able to cope to these situations. He needs to deal with this. His son got bit. He needs to deal with that grief. If he is not the one that puts Duck out of his misery, he will regret it for the rest of his life, because he'll wonder if he would have been able to had Lee not been there. So that was my reasoning for being part of the 20% of players that did not shoot him. And then when it came faced to helping either Omid or Krista, I ended up helping Omid, and I made the decision this time based on the reasoning for making the decision the first time that I played this game, and the reason why I chose to save Omid over Krista was Omid physically needed help. He had just busted his leg. He probably, well, if you save Krista, he does make it, but I didn't know that. And my thought was he was going to fall and he was going to get eaten, and then Krista would probably push me off the train as well. Again, it goes back to who needed help immediately and who could have waited a second longer. And I took a look at both of them and I thought Omid needed the help more, so I helped him up, and then Krista managed to get up, and I was relieved and happy that Omid and I could still be buds. So yeah, again, that was just basically it. And on top of that, I didn't know that Krista was pregnant. So, around every corner, I had Kenny kill the boy in the attic. Again, it's another one of those closure things. In the first time I played it, I did kill him. I stepped on his head and it went smush, and I felt terrible. But again, it goes back to that grief. It goes back to Kenny having to deal with his inner demons, and that inner demon was dealing with Duck. He didn't think he would be able to do it again, but with my encouragement this time around, I made him face that. I made him take care of the boy in the attic, and yeah, I guess that's really all there is to say about that. It's basically making Kenny into someone who can deal with that situation. He's just lost his family, he's still mourning, and just trying to get him to move on, I suppose. I did not lie or threaten Vernon. It's actually surprisingly easy not to lie or threaten Vernon in this time around, as opposed to against Herschel. And as such, I was one of the 66% of people who were rational, honest. I'm giving myself a pat on the back right now, by the way. Again, it's really easy. You just talk him down and whatnot. I, among with 73% of players, brought Clementine with me to Crawford. I have a very selfish and sort of selfless reason why I chose to bring her to me with Crawford. Very first time I played, I did bring her with me. I just couldn't think of not bringing her with me, because I didn't want to leave her alone in the house with Omid just in case he died. But the one time I did actually leave her at home. And if you leave her at home, she does end up killing a walker and protecting Omid, and it's kind of awesome. But if you leave her at home, then you end up having to save Molly, and you better be quick, because I found it was difficult on the PlayStation controls, and she ended up dying in my file, and I was very sad. And yeah, so the only way that I saw myself being able to keep Molly alive and with the group was to bring Clementine with me, because she's such a little deadeye. She's obviously been watching Carly, and I'm not a terrible teacher myself, so there we go. For whom the bell tolls. I was actually surprised when I first saw this stat, because I assumed with all the hate going on about Ben, everybody was going to drop that guy like a sack of potatoes. 66% of players actually pulled him up, myself included. I kept him alive, not because I wanted to. Honestly, I was kind of on the fence whether or not we should drop him and whatnot, and deal with what's left of the group and whatnot, because of all the bad things that he had done. Mind you, it was an accident most of the time, but that's not the point. When Clementine stood up and told us, we do not abandon our friends, he's my friend, I'm voting to keep him and not leave him behind. I was like, well, now I can't just leave him. I can't vote to leave him. And then the whole, please just let me fall. I was like, no, Clementine would never forgive me. Again, it goes back to the I can't stand Clementine being upset with me. I actually almost cried when Clem cried when I was honest with her about not being able to find her parents. I wanted to lie, but I knew that would come back and bite me in the ass, and I knew it was important to teach Clementine to be honest, because if you're honest, you expect honesty back. You don't want to be too honest, obviously, especially with all the sickos and weirdos in this world. But yeah, I wanted to show her that she could trust me and she could expect me to be honest and believe in me and all that fun stuff. But yeah, she cried, and that made me sad face. And I did reveal my bite to the group. Again, totally selfish reason for revealing the bite to the group. If someone else had been bitten, I would have wanted them to show me. In fact, I was very happy that Kenny did show you, regardless of the fact whether or not he knew of your past. Even if he doesn't know about your past, he'll still show you, and he'll make a snide remark about some people being honest. Whereas if you did actually tell him, and the only reason you would be able to tell him is if you kept Carly alive. I played through with Doug to see if that was an option, and it's not. Sadly, it's not, and it's a shame. But it almost forces you to choose Carly each time if you want to maintain a good rapport with Kenny. But that's neither here nor there. Kenny responds that we've got to keep being honest with each other if you told him about your past. And again, the only way you can do that is if Carly is in the group, because she'll encourage you to being able to talk about it. So yeah, it goes back to being honest. I would like someone in my group who had been bitten to be comfortable enough to reveal to me that they had been bitten, so that I know what's going on, as opposed to just hiding it until the last minute. Oh wait, why are you sick? Why are there teeth marks on your? That kind of thing. That would be the absolute worst case scenario for me. No time left. This one was probably one of my favorite chapters, actually. I really did enjoy it. I did have Lee's arm removed. Both playthroughs I played, the first one and the second one. I didn't quite finish the first one and this one. I didn't quite finish the second playthrough on my PlayStation Network account, but that's fine. I did have his arm removed because you never know. I don't really know what to think about that. The first time I did it, I cut it off because I thought that, hey, you know what? Maybe it will work. The second time I cut it off, I think it was more courtesy to the people I was with, because I somehow doubt they would have trusted me if I'd said, no, I'm keeping it on, because then it would have been, he's looking out for himself, not for us. Lost temper. First time I played on PlayStation, I totally threw that bust at the wall. I totally did. And then I tried to reassure Kenny that I wasn't actually going to plan on throwing it at him, and I don't think he quite believed me. This time I calmly argued with Kenny, and he was the one who grabbed the bust, and then he threw it in the wall, and then he's the one who reassured me. And I just kind of went, that's fine. It happens. And I apologized too. I didn't really want to do the fighting thing, and I kept trying to reason with him, and he was freaking out and such. So yeah. With the stranger, I did give up my weapons. Mostly because the first time I played this, I was terrified that he might go batshit insane and just, kill Clementine. Second time, I did it because I really wanted Clementine to use the butcher knife. So, again, selfish reasons. With the stranger. Now, this is an ending I've seen happen, and yeah, this is an ending I've seen happen if you fail to kill Clementine's capture. And I've obviously played through where I've killed the stranger. I strangled that motherfucker one-handed, and I was very proud to do it too. 'Cause Buddy was insane, carrying his wife's head in a bowling ball bag. I'm sorry. You've just lost your mind. Whereas says if you don't manage to do it in time, Clem just shoots the guy, and it becomes the first person she's ever killed. Which is sad, but at the same time, I think it's good for her because she's got it out of the way, and the next time she kills someone, hopefully through self-defense rather than through vicious intent, she'll be able to cope with it better. See, I think I've set her up to fail here, and I'm sad, but at the same time, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed choking that bastard to death, and obvious thing, I kept Lee from turning. Because again, it goes back to the put me out of my misery. I don't want to end up dead, turning back into a walker, and then biting the crap out of somebody. I don't want to do that. So, and I wanted to instill in Clementine that it's always safer. It's better to be safe than it is to be sorry. If you come across a corpse, make sure it does not come back. That sort of thing. Again, another life lesson for Clementine. With the special episode 400 Days, obviously each person had their own chapter, that sort of thing. The first time I played through this on PlayStation, I managed to get everybody but one person. The holdout was the first guy. I think his name, I think his name is Travis. I want to say his name is Travis. But he held out. And I found out later why he held out. So that resulted in my final tally. I ended up getting everybody this time. So everybody's coming with Tavia to the settlement. What I did wrong with Travis is I shot off Justin's foot instead of Danny. And the reason why that holds bad is when you sacrifice Justin to save Danny, and then both of you leave, Danny instills in Travis, rather, a very strong sense of just trust the people you're with, don't trust other people. And he remains loyal to that effect. But even if everybody else goes, he still ends up staying behind, regardless of what you choose, regardless of what you say and whatnot. It's because of Danny's life lessons post-apocalypse that instills that Travis will stay at the camp. However, if you shoot Justin fucks off as soon as he can to one of those settlements, which makes Travis more inclined to think perhaps it might be a good idea to seek out like a group of people and sort of come together and that sort of thing. With Wyatt, again, I got everybody else to come. I figured out that if you get out of the car, then you're not going anywhere. Wyatt's not gonna change his mind. He's gonna stay at the camp. But because I stayed, he ended up wanting to go because he wanted to be able to find Eddie, who he ditched. And that makes sense. With Russell, I most definitely dropped Nate like a bad habit. Nate is just one person that you do not want to deal with, and I am so glad that he actually ended up dead, or at least I think it was him that I saw in season 2. It was either him or it was Roman. Either way, both of them, I'm glad they're dead. But yeah, I left him. I did not like him, and at one point, I actually did turn the gun on him. It sucked that Russell sucks, though. Again, going back to the honesty, when it comes to lying to Leland, I was totally honest. I told him it was an accident. I didn't actually mean to shoot D. It was, sorry, not shoot D, rather bash her brains in. It was an honest mistake. I really thought that she was one of the guys that were attacking me, and then, yeah. So Leland ended up leaving her, eventually. But yeah, I was part of the 25% of people who were honest and chose not to lie to Leland. And as for Stephanie, regardless of the fact that Stephanie did not regard my friendship with her enough to not betray me and try to steal supplies and fuck off, knowing that it would have devastating effects to myself and to Becca, as well as the rest of the camps, I just could not kill Stephanie. I ended up leaving in the RV just because I couldn't deal with that. I wanted to show Becca compassion and such, since she seemed like a little bitch and everything like that. So yeah, again, life lesson, selfishness, whatever you want to call it, that's fine. So those are my choices for the original Walking Dead. Moving right along to season 2. First and foremost, I want to say I like this layout a little bit better than the previous layout. And the reason why I like this layout better is your choices are right here. You don't actually have to enter your file. I'm assuming that if you want to compare with multiple files, you do have to access your save files and take a look at those. But for the most point, your choices are displayed right here. So that's awesome. Top of that, it's a little bit more graphically attractive, I think. There are bits and hiccups that I think could have been fixed, but it's the shell shading, and I have issue with shell shading to begin with. Again, I like it for this. This is about the only game that I like that has shell shading in it, or rather, this is the only game with shell shading in it that I actually like. But yeah, that is neither here nor there. These were my choices for the first episode, which is all that remains. I attempted to save Krista just like 88% of players. If you just try to sneak off, you still get caught, and I guess something bad happens to Krista. I don't know. I didn't play through that just to find out, but yeah, that's pretty much it. With the dog, I hated that scene. I really did. I'm not much of a dog person. I had the hope that maybe Sam and Clementine would be like a dynamic duo, like Capers destroying the dead and all that, and their squabbles, their partnership dissolved by arguments of food, and yeah, someone had to die, and that made me sad. But yeah, I ended up killing the dog because I could not justify just leaving it there, just dying there. No, I'm sorry, I just couldn't. Again, it goes back to the what would I like having done, and I know it's strange to hear that about me saying that about an animal as opposed to a person. Some people might feel that. I have 3 cats, and I would feel the exact same way. And I managed to keep it together until Clementine started crying as she was losing consciousness, and I almost cried. I started yelling at the monitor to stop crying because she was making me cry, and just thinking about it is making me really sad. So we're just gonna move on. With the guy, in regards to the bandit that Clem found with her backpack, I gave him water just so that he would be able to talk. It wasn't anything to do with compassion. I wanted him to be able to tell me, and I understood that if I didn't give him the water, most likely he wasn't going to be able to say anything. Not that it helped, but hey, I feel good, and so did the 69.1% of players who gave that water to him. I did accept Nick's apology because, honestly, after hearing his story, I do sort of understand where he's coming from. Does it mean I think that they should keep giving him guns to hold on to? Absolutely not. The guy has no idea where to hold his index finger. and he almost blew my head off, so I'm sorry. I forgive him for his behavior and whatnot. I do not forgive the group for giving him a weapon. And as for heroics, did I save Nick or did I save Pete? See that I did actually go with saving Pete. I'm not gonna lie, I honestly did not see Pete getting bit. I honestly did not. I had absolutely no idea. I thought he just fell and hurt his leg, and then I was watching someone else's Let's Play and I realized, oh shit, I just saved the guy with the bite. So yeah, there goes that. On the other hand, though, in that other person's playthrough, she saved Nick, and I watched as Pete died. Now, the decision to save either Nick or Pete sort of fell in the same parameters as saving Sean or Duck or saving Omid or Krista. And it was basically who needs the immediate attention first. So I just kind of stood there and kept looking back and forth to see who needed my help more. And then someone said something about Nick having more ammo, at which point my decision was made. I went for Pete because I figured, you know what? He's got ammo. He's okay for now. I'm going to go for Pete because he could use some help. He could use the backup. I guess that's just sort of the way I am. I try to help the people who are in immediate assistance first and then go back and help the person who could wait a little bit longer. That sort of thing. So yeah, that concludes my intro video. Again, I chose to do it this way so that I wouldn't bore everybody with replaying the whole thing just to catch up for The Walking Dead Season 2, which, by the way, comes out tomorrow. I'm so stoked. So I'll be starting with episode 2 and then going on from there. If you guys really want me to, I will boot up the first season, play that again, and then play the first chapter again. I'll try to make about the same choices that I made in this one, just so that it makes sense. But yeah, that's pretty much what'll happen. So again, Dead Space, Dishonored, I plan on beating those. I plan on finishing all the other games that I've played as well. I just want to get this one out there because as I was playing Season 2 for the first time, I was thinking to myself with these reactions, oh man, I should have been recording this. So this is what I'm doing. And enough of my rambling. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, even though it might have been incredibly boring. Until the next time, or until Season 2 comes out, well, Episode 2 comes out, rather. Thanks for watching.